Hello there. In this video, I'll be creating some lighting effects for RPG Maker, and I'll be making use of Piskel and Photoshop. You can see here an example of what I'll be making, and another one here using the same animation, just changed around to have different colors. So to start off, I'm going to create a new project in Piskel, and I'm just going to create a kind of a cone shape that's chopped off at the top and the bottom. And I guess I should really use the stroke tool for this. So I'm going to create different colored bands just emanating from the top. And the overall idea is I just want these bands to slowly drift to the left over the course of the animation. And so that it's not a straightforward gradient, I added a kind of a bright beam in the middle just to break things up a bit. Now I think I did this animation over 10 frames. Which seemed to work out pretty well. That was a good number. I think you would want something like this to have a decent number of frames. If it didn't have enough, it could look a little bit choppy. Another thing I did here was, for the majority of the frames, all of the lines are progressing at a sort of consistent rate. But for the last 2 frames, I had the colors shift forward quite a bit faster, so that in the final animation, it doesn't feel so much like a consistent mechanical movement, but it sort of seems like it's moving quickly, then moving slowly, then moving quickly. It has a bit more of a random look. I'll just slow down the animation here so you can see what it looks like. Alright, I'll save it. And I'll open this up in Photoshop now. Okay, here in Photoshop, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is just set my grid to 64 by 64. So now all my frames are separated. And I'm going to duplicate the layer and just shift that second layer 1 frame forward. I guess I'll duplicate it again just to get that last frame back on the first. So after I've got all that lined up, I'll just merge that layer there. So now I've got my original animation and a copy of it that's shifted forwards 1, just out of phase by 1 frame. So I think what I want to do with this is set that top layer to have less transparency, or less opacity, and we'll see about offsetting it by a few pixels horizontally. I think that's probably what I'll do. I played around a bit here with some blending modes just to see if that would be useful at all. I don't think I went with that. I think I just had it set to 50% transparency. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll just merge that. Quickly grab a mask, put that in a folder with a mask. So the mask is the same shape as the object itself, but now I'm going to blur the mask just to introduce some transparency around the edges. So now if I use the levels adjustment, let me just get some background in there so we can see what's going on. So now when I use the levels adjustment on the mask itself, I can really fine-tune just how transparent or how sharp I want the boundary to be. And I think I've got it looking pretty good there. Okay, so here I'm just introducing a linear blur. Alright, on this last frame here, I'm going to add a new mask. Just try to get some transparency at the top and the bottom of the animation. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with the way that mask looks. Now I just need to copy it onto all the other frames. Okay, let's apply that mask. Just do some last-minute fine-tuning. I think I'll probably save this as a Photoshop file in case I want to make any changes later on. But I'm pretty happy with it, the way it looks, so let's save this as a ping file. It's got 10 frames of animation, so yeah, 10 by 1. Alright, let's fire this up in RPG Maker and see how this looks. Alright, let's place it so that we have some light emanating from this building. There we go, sun shaft. So it's quite small, which is good because we'll save some space, but we can easily scale this up. Alright, that looks like a good size. So let's speed the animation up a bit, change the blending mode, probably want to go with additive, and definitely want to change the opacity. Just make sure it's above the character. And we could change the color too, it pretty much matches what should be coming out of that building, I think. Alright, there we go. So I think I added about 2 or 3 more variations of the animation here at different sizes and opacities. Yeah, I think layering these animations does tend to look better, but it's probably more resource intensive as far as the computer is concerned. That does look pretty good though. Alright, let's try adding that same effect down here for this green light. So first up, let's try to match that color. Just fiddling around with the different settings here till we get something we like. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I actually wanted to animate some sort of floating dust particles to go in front of these light beams for this video, but I sort of ran out of time as I was working on that first animation. So I might do that another time. But that's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope this was helpful.